this episode of the In the House podcast, Michael and I chat with Andrew Gander of Michael G. Imber Architects in San Antonio, Texas. Andrew discusses their approach of integrating artistic expression throughout the design process. We discuss how they bridge the gap between technology and tradition, as well as keeping craft alive through education of traditional architecture. If you like this episode, please share with a friend and give the show 5 stars. Thanks for listening. Upgrade your construction layouts with trademarks. These heavy-duty vinyl markers are designed to withstand harsh job site conditions. They're durable, waterproof, and perfect for marking locations for electrical, plumbing, HVAC, and more. Available in trade-specific colors, trademarks make communication with your team simple, professional, and reliable. Whether you're recording benchmarks, elevations, or center lines, trademarks ensure your layouts stay intact, even under heavy traffic. New customers enjoy 15% off at checkout. Visit trademarklayout.com to get yours today.
Yeah, so I thought this would be fun. You're putting me out of my comfort zone.
Gosh,
on the podcast. I'm gonna put
excited.
you out of your comfort zone. I'm gonna put a pencil in the contractor's hand, and we're gonna do some drawing together.
You might be pleasantly surprised. You never know.
I think Lonnie's secretly been holding it back.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, he's got the artist inside of him.
So I came prepared. These are some of my favorite drawing pencils that we have in the office, and they're called the Black Warrior.
Ooh,
which
wow.
just sounds awesome.
That does sound awesome.
And it's a lot of fun.
I'm drawing with the Black Warrior.
It's like a samurai's sword.
Kind of. So I brought these, and see if I can find a sharp one for you. Not that you need one. And I brought some paper and a couple images, and what we'll do is we'll do a little. We'll just spend a couple minutes together. And
So what are the rules here? What are we doing?
So typically on like a given Friday, we'll do a timed sketch exercise. So we literally set a timer, and the clock's ticking down, and the purpose is to learn how to draw quickly. And so as designers, we have ideas in our head, and we want to get them on paper quickly and just learn how to develop your mind's eye and capture that physically. But also if you're out traveling and you're visiting a new city, and you can snap a picture on your phone, but also maybe you have a sketchbook, and how do you quickly capture something? There's a value and skill to drawing fast, and so we typically have a timed component to the sketch club. I don't know if we're gonna have the full duration here today, but on a normal Friday we'll do a 15-minute on the clock.
Okay.
And then we're all drawn together. Sometimes we'll do a little like 1 minute warning. I printed
That's cool.
2 images, and I'll let you guys pick between you which ones you guys want to draw.
Look at this. I recognize this
I
project.
thought you might recognize this
looks
project.
Nice. Okay,
Yeah,
so we're basically the rules of the.
There are no
rules. Oh, I like this.
I mean, essentially, you're drawing.
You're drawing what you see.
Draw what you see.
Okay. All right.
And we've got some amount of time.
We'll be quick. But the idea is we're loosening up.
I'll set a timer.
And,
what do we want? Like 5 minutes?
Let's do a 5-minute sketch.
Five
That's
minute
great.
sketch.
Yeah.
All right. You got it over there? You got a timer?
This is
I
exciting.
I haven't done this.
okay.
I know. I was just
I'll do
checking what time it was. So I.
Okay.
Man.
So I'll do a 5-minute timer starting now.
Starting now.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I think the beauty of Sketch Club is that not every drawing has to be a masterpiece, right? It's just a matter of loosening up and getting comfortable with pencil on the paper.
Do you think there's a tendency for people to be too perfectionistic whenever they're kind of trying to do this, or they're like too much pressure on themselves?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, and it's hard to break that cycle. I mean, even myself, I've been drawing for years, and you always want to feel like you're doing your best work.
Yeah.
And what you put out there is good. But again, not every drawing has to be something that lives in a museum or is hung on a wall. A big part of it is to get comfortable with designing and drawing. And
all right, I think the next evolution of sketchbook should be talking while drawing. I am noticing that this is harder.
Yeah, this is very tricky to concentrate. I thought this was going to be easier. Oh man,
you were talking about taking a photo versus see, here I go again. I'm losing my train of thought. Taking a photo versus drawing, and I do think there is something important to, or one of the cool things about drawing is that you learn to see something in a little bit of a different way than you would otherwise.
For sure.
If you just snapped a photo of it.
And I don't want to villainize photography. You look at my my camera roll on my phone, and there's a lot of buildings in there. I take pictures of a lot of buildings, but I feel like when I'm looking back, whenever I'm traveling or being in a new city, the memories that stick in my mind are the times where I've been able to just stop and pause and take a minute and slow down and maybe pull out the sketchbook, and I'm remembering where I was standing. Was it hot? Was the sun shining? I kind of think of my experience there, not just what I'm looking at, but how am I locked into that moment in time?
Yeah.
And a lot of times drawing just like puts you right back in that place.
My daughter's really into art, drawing. She just, we try to encourage it, certainly, but it gets to a point, like, she draws and colors and creates stuff so much where it's like, we're running out of room for all this stuff. I hate to throw stuff away, but it's like, at some point, it's like, you got to be realistic. We can't keep every little thing you make, It's like, I think they're beautiful and I love them, and I like that you were thinking of me when you made it, but
there's only so many I Love Daddy.
There's only so many sketches I can do, but and they tape it all over the wall, and and it's great, but
I don't think there's heartbreak if all of those sketches don't live forever.
It seems like there's a ton of heartbreak. I'm not gonna lie.
Dad,
you gotta pick. You gotta pick and choose. Let's, you got you got a stack of 50 drawings here. Let's maybe pick the 5 top ones, and the rest of them are goners.
Drew, do your kids have a affinity?
And it's always the one.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
It's always the ones. Oh my!
That
went a lot faster.
That was quick.
My gosh! Oh, let me turn that off.
All right, are we gonna do a little show and tell?
Wow, Michael. Yours is pretty bad. How do you win this? Is there a prize?
There are no winners or losers.
Oh, wow. Participation trophies for everybody.
All right, so here's a show and tell.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
This is the best
puts
content.
me to shame
Wow,
so bad.
that is incredible.
This
Look
is
at
good
that.
content for an audio based.
We'll take a bunch of pictures of these.
Yeah, we're gonna take
document this really well.
We're gonna post pictures of other things that we drawn. That's what we did in 5 minutes.
Oh yeah, for sure. But yeah, I mean, obviously this isn't gonna live on the wall of someone's home.
What was something that you were focused on that?
I was pushing the value in the arches and trying to work on the proportion of the kind of the arch in perspective, suggesting some details in the column capitals. But again, we're not worried about detail.
Yeah,
given the time constraints. It's just a little gesture drawing.
So yeah, I was totally focused on all of those same things. And I'll tell you what.
Show us yours.
Mine is like...
That is fantastic.
Honestly, it looks like my daughter drew it. I mean, if I'm being honest, it's very 2D.
Well, your daughter is very talented.
Thank you. I'll let her know. Yeah, it's very two-dimensional. I was definitely focused on the arches as well.
Yeah.
That's about all I can muster.
Well, I think I'm
Stolle?
right there in the middle.
Now, tell me what you were focused on.
I chose a smaller area as well to focus and get some detail.
Yeah,
that's a strategy.
I feel capitals.
Like step 1 is define your composition. Decide what you're going to draw.
Yeah, not trying to do everything.
Yep.
And then showing the contrast between the white, the wall, the arches and the stucco, and then the dark of the windows.
So when y'all do this in your office, can you get a feel for, somebody's personality based on how they approach certain sketches? And
Yeah, like if they're super rigid and versus I don't know if it's a direct personality. I think I will say having
It might be a stylistic thing.
yeah. So
maybe?
I will say having sketched and drawn with some of these people for quite a while now. Seeing a whole spread of drawings, I can pretty well pinpoint who drew what, and you can kind of see people's hands, and I know people's individual styles. Which is kind of cool.
Thinking about some of the people in the MGI office, like there might be more of a focus stylistic on some things. Some people really capture like contrast and like precision really well. And then there's other people who really capture the kind of like a general like gestural competition, like kind of more relaxed.
Yeah.
Really well. I don't know. I would love to kind of give that more better words to that, but that's just off the cuff.
What is your background? I mean, it is in art, right? I mean, tell us your story and how you got to architecture and design and how you wound up with Imber.
Yeah, we can turn the clock way back. When I was little, I loved to draw. My dad is super artistic. He's an oil painter. And
cool.
as a kid, I would have a lot of fond memories painting with him and drawing with him. And I think a lot of those skills, were transferred down to me, and things I still hold dear. I always had this inclination of wanting to do something artistic and design oriented. I've always loved to draw. I've really always loved to paint. I did go to school for architecture.
Mm-hmm.
I went to school at Judson University, which is a liberal arts college up in Chicagoland. And they have a really great program. Their architecture program had a strong art component, and so that we were required to take art classes and drawing classes.
Yeah, it's a fantastic program.
Hand drafting and
cool.
Yes, it was a very hands-on program, and I took watercolor classes there.
Is that common?
No.
I was going to say, that seems very uncommon.
Yeah, there's a number of schools across the country that have that type of a program baked in, but not common by any means. I didn't necessarily know what type of architecture I wanted to pursue when I first entered college. I think I was really inspired by some architectural history classes that opened my eyes to the broader world of design and architectural history. That kind of opened my eyes that there is this traditional architectural presence that has always existed. It's this design continuum that people today are practicing in traditions that have been continued and built upon and kind of evolved for millennia.
Yeah, there's definitely something that we want to kind of revisit with you and dive in deeper is Michael often describes himself as a modern classicist, and you mentioned coming into school. Okay, I didn't have necessarily a certain preference or style per se that I was interested in, but you're starting to describe this classical, this traditional, trying to use some specific words. So we'll come back to that, but I just kind of want to put a pin in that, and then we'll come back.
I don't even know where I was going.
We were just telling your story. And
so I guess, I'm in college. I'm learning things.
Yeah.
Taking drawing classes.
Yeah.
Painting a little bit. Getting exposure to different types of architecture.
Come on.
I just loved traditional architecture because it just felt like it was so meaningful. It had this connection to the past of, architecture so often feels so trendy, and there's really nothing wrong with that, but to design with something that feels meaningful and connects to broader group of people, really resonated with me.
It's awesome.
After grad school, I after undergrad. I did go back for grad school, but I started working for Michael. I've been with Michael.
No way.
It's been a pretty linear.
And how did you get connected with him? I guess because you're from the Midwest originally.
I'm a Midwest boy. I grew up in Minnesota,
which is why he's so polite. This is nice.
I can tell.
Yeah.
I mean, I when I was looking for firms, I was looking at who does the best work in the country that would justify me moving, like that would justify me moving across the country. If I'm making some big life change, like I don't want to do that for anyone.
Yeah.
And so I had learned about Michael, and again, this is years ago. I've been working for Michael now for almost 14 years.
Wow,
that's
awesome. Impressive.
Yeah,
super cool.
Yeah, and it's also been really interesting seeing the firm kind of grow and evolve and change in that time. I've really enjoyed being part of that process.
It's awesome. Yeah.
I wanted to really hammer in further detail what draws you to a classical traditional architecture over, I guess a more modern or contemporary architecture. Like, sell it to me. What about it?
Yeah, I mean, so I love classical architecture because I think it's beautiful, but I don't think that's the only solution in any context. I kind of like the term traditional architecture as a bit more broadly encompassing, which kind of is an umbrella term that it might also encompass more vernacular traditions. And so whether it's a classical building with Corinthian column capitals or a vernacular building built out of stones and a thatched roof. I think both of those are just rooted in long-standing construction practices and just design traditions. We work all over the country and work in many different heritages. I'm thinking, what's the plural of heritage? I don't know.
Interesting.
Just different patterns of life, and each of those has a different architectural language, and to queue up with that language just is meaningful. We're always designing every project with its specific place and culture in mind, kind of pulling from those local traditions. I think buildings carry a lot of meaning and they tell stories. And being part of a design continuum, looking back of what are the patterns that brought us to where we are now as a people and as a heritage, and then how is this building going to communicate and look forward and push that to the next generation and be a marker moving forward. That's exciting to kind of be in the crossroads of looking back and looking forward and designing something that speaks to both.
Yeah.
When y'all have a new client or a new project, like how much is hand drawn versus done on the computer?
Great question. So we'll start our design process pretty loose. We're dreaming with a client. We're hearing what they have to say, and sketching is a way for us to put on paper ideas quickly and kind of informally to start solidifying what direction could this go. And so we'll start early on design, hand drawing. We'll do a variety of sketch concepts. We'll be iterating all the way through. And then as the design becomes a bit more honed in and realized, we might jump on the computer and kind of check things, check program, check square footages. We're kind of balancing and dancing between digital and hand-drawn design processes. But we still, our preference is still for the hand-drawn, just as a way to communicate a bit more clearly at the stage we're in. Sometimes if, when comparing, let's say, a computer photorealistic rendering, they're awesome. We've all seen them. They're super cool. But at that point, you're kind of telling the client what it's going to look like versus a hand drawing. It's you're suggesting, you're indicating, you're not making promises, but it's a bit softer, and so it's more collaborative. That when you see a hand drawing, your eye fills in the gaps, and you can see in that drawing what you want to see, and the process is a bit.
One thing I want to add on top of that.
Yeah.
Oftentimes people associate computer drawing with like exact dimensions and specificity, and hand drawing with things that are gestural or intent or artistic.
Yeah.
And one of the things from my experience working with Drew and the Imber team is that that's not necessarily the case. Oftentimes in the computer world, there were ways in which we were using it that were oftentimes gestural, and then vice versa. And then there was times when there was a hand drawn component that actually had a lot of specificity and exactness to it. And so oftentimes I hear those things and they get kind of conflated together of, oh, this is a hand sketch, meaning it doesn't really mean anything.
It's all up in here.
Yeah. It's just a hand sketch.
Yeah.
But I mean, Drew and you can probably speak further to this, but oftentimes, I mean, and Drew and I worked on a project together. He would give me a hand sketch that had all the information I needed in it and was actually very specific. You know, and so I don't know if you want to speak more to that, but
there's a lot that can be communicated in hand drawing. It's yeah, and I think hand drawing at different phases of design means different things. Early on in ST, we're kind of, you know, in schematic design, we're thinking big picture. These are big movements that we're making, and so it might feel a little softer here and there, and it might be more dreamy, and we're allowing the owner to dream alongside us and kind of vision along with them. As we move forward into other phases of design and design development, and even in construction documents, we never abandon the pencil, even as we continue to get in the computer and get hard lines drafted. We are still problem solving and working through designs by hand and thinking through things via sketches, and we're thinking quickly with a pencil, with a pen, and we're using the computer to record a lot of that, but we're not we're not typically like stamping pencil drawings sent out to the contract. Our pencil drawings oftentimes are pretty precise, as you were mentioning.
You know, one of the things that I constantly hear as a criticism of the architecture community is that they take too long. They don't get things back in time. There's a significant lag when construction is definitely a world of the fire of the moment, you know, when you address. And when I think about the designers that I've worked with, Drew, you are one of the most prompt that I've worked with and responsive. And
well, thank you.
Yeah. and I mean that. And I think that there is really, I really want to say that if you're listening as an architect, I think it's important to hear that a hand drawn sketch, to what you're saying, Drew, about, hey, that's a quick means of communicating, can be perfectly acceptable. And no, it's not going to be to the 16th inch detail exact that maybe something produced digitally would produce, but it completely satisfies, and communicates what needs to be communicated. Or it can. I mean, not exclusively, but that is a wonderful way to communicate.
Yeah, and I'll, by extension, I'll say, we're working through design, we're stamping drawings, we're moving forward into construction. The design doesn't stop, right? We're working with you guys, we're walking a job. challenges come up, unique conditions. We're working through challenges. You can pull out a piece of paper and problem solve in the moment with a pencil in hand and kind of work through design and detail and kind of solve it there in the moment and not have to rely on the computer to like tell me what the solution has to be.
Yeah, one thing when we were talking to Ben Broughton a couple episodes ago, and one thing that he mentioned that I thought was pretty interesting, he was having a conversation with Matt Ficus, and he was Matt was, I guess, expressing he didn't really seem to think that, you know, all these drafting programs like AutoCAD and Revit were actually much of a benefit, because, you know, you get so zoomed in on the details that you kind of get lost in, you know, whatever it is you're working on, just that little detail. And so you tend to lose sight of the big picture. And, you know, cause you're just looking at a little snapshot, just a screen. You're not, you know, whereas opposed to a hand sketch, you're really looking at, I mean, you have the ability to zoom in and do a detail, but you know, if you're drafting by hand, you're really focusing on the big picture. And so his point was that, you know, they were losing productivity because, you know, these designers were so hyper focused on certain details that they kind of lost sight of the project, and it was kind of lagging behind. And so he was kind of expressing, you know, his grief in some of these drafting programs and them not actually being that beneficial. So I don't know if you have that same thought or feeling, but
I think it's a give and take. I mean, I think there's a speed in just quickly sketching something up, but also there is the benefit of having something drafted so you can get it on paper and commit to it and refer back to it in the future.
Yeah.
And you know it's solid.
Yeah.
And it's sort of a benchmark moving forward that you can return back and, you're not having to start from square one.
Yeah.
Another thing I'm thinking about it. I'm not trying to disclose all your trade secrets or anything like that, but one of the things that I'm thinking about is that it's a really effective means of communication that I've seen from y'all's office is a hard line drawing, so something that was made digitally, but then you guys watercolor over it or add color to it, and that's kind of a cool in-between middle ground of there's an artistic quality that's added to it that as a contractor gives us a lot of clues. Color really does add for us because we get to go, oh, okay, that's painted, that's stained, this is stucco, that's stone. But there's also a dimensional, there's a measuredness to it.
Yeah, so
as well.
For sure. Yeah, you're mentioning we'll have some CAD drawings occasionally. Every project's different in what types of renderings we might produce, but occasionally we'll do a CAD drawing and watercolor on top of it. And so you can almost dimension off of that. I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah.
But especially, it's probably pretty early on. But, I mean, there's a lot of clarity with crisp digital line work. Yeah. And then there's artistry and materiality and thought that gets layered on top of that a digital drawing is difficult to achieve. We do a lot of hybrid drawing techniques where we might have a digital drawing and then we're bringing it in and we're photoshopping it and we're kind of like half digital, half hand created presentation drawings. And so we're kind of always trying to see how can we bridge this digital world that we live in, and whether that's in our actual construction documents, working with your teams, or if it's just understanding how do we use our digital assets to help our own visual and graphic storytelling to communicate the best possible way.
Yeah.
I don't want to make it sound like Michael Imber, you know, this firm is only capable of doing like a traditional or classical style of architecture. I think that's what y'all heavily focus on. But y'all are capable of doing, you know, a wide variety of designs and styles. I mean, I've seen some modern builds that y'all have done that, you know, were really awesome. Were just amazing. And, you know, tip of the hat to the builder too, you know, on the execution of it, because it was beautiful. But Where do you fall on classical versus modern? I know, I think, you fall more towards classical, but, what is it about? Do you think modern architecture, contemporary architecture is kind of moving in a bad direction, or what do you kind of nod your head there? You're like,
I'm kind of
leading question.
I don't know.
You're kind of.
This is one of those questions that I just hate. No offense, Lonnie.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like this dichotomy of modern versus classical. I think you can design a classical building with a modern lens, and it can feel fresh and it's not old. Likewise, you can design something that feels very very modern, but it's built with classical principles, and there's proportion, and there's this sense of permanence and materiality. And I don't think it has to be a dichotomy. I think it's more of a dialogue.
Okay.
Where we're kind of bridging, and we're kind of using principles that have been time tested in a new and fresh way.
Yeah.
So our office does do some modern work, and it's exciting when I'm walking around the studio and our teams are working on different projects across the country, and there's so much variety in what we're producing, and occasionally there will be something more modern with more of a modern inclination to it, but it's usually still baked with traditional principles, even if it's not explicitly presenting itself as a traditional building.
I gotcha. Okay. That makes sense, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. No one likes hearing architects talk about design.
Intentionally non-committal. No,
Right.
I think that's a great response, Drew, and it. I think sometimes to maybe someone doesn't spend day in day out in that world, it can feel overly complex in terms of like, what do you mean by a dialogue of these things? But it's that can really be true across any discipline or any industry. And I really relate to that on a personal level of my experience of life. Of whenever I have pressed into something and taken a step further into something, I discover a beauty and a complexity to what's going on than I just thought of when I just looked at it at first glance. Like, oh, that building's modern, that's classical, and next subject, But what you're saying is, hey, there's actually kind of a conversation happening here within these styles, and even within y'all's office, people can be producing different work, but there's threads of common principles within those. I think that's really compelling.
Yeah, I'm nodding my head here.
Yeah.
You can't see that on
The verbal nod.
That makes sense. It's not like this or that. It's not like a competitive, like this is modern, versus classical. Like it could be either or. It could be a blend. I mean, it could be anything you want, really, anything
100%.
that you can dream up. So
yeah,
I mean, I think what you're saying, it makes sense. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's not competitive. They're not competing against one another. They can go hand in hand and work together. So
it's interesting how you could take the same principles, take something, say, like you mentioned proportion, for example, or symmetry, right? Both of those can convey order, which is generally considered by people to be pleasing, right? That, okay, this has been thought about, there's an order to it, some sort of like standard dimension or something is happening that seems pleasing. Well, you can take that principle and then apply it, and you can come out with completely different, almost opposing, products, houses, good design, and I think that's kind of amazing, actually.
And I think that's what's exciting about being a participant in the design community, right? I mean, every person has different solutions and different value sets and how they see the world, and and I might have one approach given a prompt, and I'm looking at a piece of property and the history of that part of the country and the climate and the heritage and the building traditions. And I'm going to have one solution and someone else is going to have a different solution. And that's what's exciting and that's what's engaging. And
It's awesome.
I think that's what's fun about being a designer is we can see and dream about the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to switch gears a little bit.
Yeah.
It's all right. I want to talk a little bit about what you've been involved in, Drew, education-wise, and something that we've talked on here about with several different people is the importance of getting people involved in the building community. I think everyone is exposed to buildings because we all live in them, but there's a barrier about the knowledge of it, and that whether that's at the trade level, whether that's at the design level, even the owner level, there's an education that really our community needs. And so tell us a little bit about what you're doing with New Heights. And I'm curious personally about what's been going on.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what you've been doing.
Yeah. So for some background, I'm a board member with the Institute of Classical Architecture and Art in our Texas chapter. And we're one of the chapters that hosts the New Heights program. It's kind of an intensive multi-session class teaching architecture and design to middle school and high school students. And we've been in the classroom working with students every year since 2017 here in San Antonio.
Wow.
Or over in San Antonio.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we've had the opportunity to talk with young students about design, about their city's history, about traditional architecture, but also just about architecture in general and what is happening in the building industry, what's happening in the design community. We're hosted in an art classroom, and so we have some students who are might be interested in ceramics or in interiors or what have you. And architecture touches so many things that we're able to connect and kind of give some exposure to students and really open their eyes in a new way. Obviously, architecture is part of our lives, but maybe people don't think of it. It's the backdrop to what we do. And we reside in homes, and we go to work in buildings, and our cities are shaped of structures. But we're not always thinking of buildings in the role they play in our lives. And so, we're kind of giving some exposure and a new lens for students to look at their city and their built environment. We typically take the students on a field trip, a little walking tour downtown, and talk about buildings and give some vocabulary to the parts and pieces, and it's fun watching them experience the world with fresh eyes and a new perspective. Yeah, so I said we've been in the classroom every year since 2017. I think except for 1 year during COVID. But,
makes sense.
Yeah, right now we've been working with high school students over a several week period built into their spring semester classroom, and we've been working with them. They've been doing watercolors and analytiques of local San Antonio iconic historic structures. And it's been,
like the Alamo, for example.
I think some students were studying the Alamo.
I was going to say historic structures in San Antonio. That's hopefully that's on the list.
That's probably the most famous one.
Quite iconic. But not the only architectural gem.
No. Definitely not.
Well, is there any way for people to get involved with that? Can they donate? How can somebody help out?
Yeah, great question. So, it's under the umbrella of the ICAA. It's a national nonprofit, is for the promotion of traditional and classical design, education, and advocacy.
Cool.
And so it's not just for middle school and high school students,
Yeah.
but also for design professionals.
Yeah.
And so there's chapters all across the country. There's a Texas chapter, and there's events that happen in different cities across Texas.
Yeah.
In San Antonio, Austin, Dallas, Fort Worth, and Houston. So,
And you've taught some of the, I think they do like weekend intensives or week-long intensives for just adults, right?
Yeah. So
Kind of
it's
exposure
not
to
just
traditional
students.
architecture.
Exactly. It's not just students, it's also design professionals. The national, the ICAA national, hosts a week-long, they call them the intensive of, classical architecture, and it teaches fundamentals in design and drawing and proportion.
There's also a speaker series or something like that, or
It's hosted twice a year, once in New York, and then the other one is the regional intensive. It's the same content, but it's hosted in different cities across the country, and so there's probably an intensive coming to a city. And it's, I guess, sort of funny you're bringing it up. Next week, I don't know when this podcast is being aired, but next week San Antonio is hosting.
Oh, no way! That's awesome.
The ICAA intensive.
Heck yeah.
Cool. And I'm one of the instructors, and
you
a couple
are.
people from
Nice.
our office are also helping out.
Come on.
I'll be
That's
I'll be
great.
teaching or I'll be helping out with the wash rendering class
Okay.
and the measured drawing class.
That's awesome.
So it should be a lot of fun. I've helped out with those classes before, and I love watercoloring. And this is we'll do an ink wash with the participants.
Yeah.
And it's a fun way
Lonnie's
to-
a big ink wash guy too, so
I could tell.
yeah.
No idea what you're talking
He's ink washing it up
All the time.
all the time, man.
Every day.
Yeah, just-
every opportunity I get.
Yeah, always. No, that's fantastic. I mean, the ICA is a wonderful organization just overall, and I mean, super excited to hear about all the things that you guys are doing. You know, with that, both just here in Texas. I mean, it's a great entry way to get exposed to some of these concepts.
Yeah, not everyone had the opportunity to go to Notre Dame or go
Yeah.
to a classical program to learn about traditional architecture.
Yeah.
So the ICAA gives opportunities to learn that kind of
Yeah.
baseline fundamental knowledge about architecture,
Yeah.
and also just celebrate what's happening in the current design community.
Yeah.
With current architects and craftsmen, they they recognize what's happening in Texas with awards and with exposure to firms and to craftsmen.
And obviously, I'm pretty biased, but I mean, I think for younger people to get exposed to architecture, to buildings, to making things as a young person, I think it's just super valuable. And I wish that was more built into just kind of the general education system as a whole. I think people really benefit from that. So I love what you guys are doing. Keep it up.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's amazing. Andrew, I know you had quite a drive to get here. I appreciate you, speaking with us, and I certainly learned a lot. I appreciate the sketch challenge and everything. I had
Lonnie, you should hang that on your wall.
I might.
You put that up next to your daughters.
I might.
Yeah.
Actually. Yeah, that's a
come
good
on.
idea. So, Drew, I appreciate your time. Thank you for talking with us. And
Thank you for having me.
yeah, absolutely.
It's been a lot of fun.
It's been a real pleasure. Thank you.